wasn't long before Leo woke up from his slumber. It was not a sound that woke him up around the latest hour. He had the gut feeling that wouldn't settle down after the talk he and the others had with Splinter. This gut feeling would not settle, so this was the reason why he was wide awake at night. His mind was soon switched over to his little brother and the Pinkie Pie doll. No, why does Mikey need that doll? Leo wondered in his head. He's already got Ice Cream Kitty. He didn't know what to think of this new doll, or more specifically, Mikey's new behavior. The one Mikey that would smile all the time, play pranks on his brothers and sister, laugh a lot, and more, was no longer there after the incident with Raph and their argument. What Raph said to Mikey was unacceptable, especially when the baby brother of the team is very sensitive. Perhaps the doll is bringing him comfort in some way like Ice Cream Kitty, and we can't give. The thought kept gnawing at him like a rabbit trying to gnaw off the stem of a vegetable. Maybe a glass of water can help him go back to sleep. Leonardo carefully tiptoed towards the kitchen so he wouldn't disturb the others, and Donnie, since he would be up most of the time at this hour. Once in the kitchen, he noticed a familiar color of pink in the kitchen. Maybe Kofu can't sleep either, he whispered to himself. Once he was close to the kitchen, he quietly stepped inside. But what he saw wasn't Kofu at all, but the Pinkie Pie doll instead. Surprised, he didn't know how to react. Pinkie Pie? He stuttered, confused. Weren't you in Mikey's room? He stared at the doll, as if he was expecting an answer, but he stopped inside as he knew dolls couldn't talk. His blue eyes then noticed something in Pinkie Pie's arms. A small juice box was being held back in the two forelegs of the small pony plush. Before Leo could question it, he heard 2 footsteps coming out from the restroom. When he looked over, he was almost taken aback when he saw Mikey. He had a tired look in his eyes, as he was just woken up by something. Possibly a dream? When his baby blue eyes landed on his older brother, the sleep had immediately vanished and a big smile spread across his face. But Leo could tell it was forced. Hey Leo, what you doing up so late? He whispered. I could ask you the same thing, Mikey, the blue masked turtle responded. What are you doing up this late hour? Mikey's forced smile soon fell, and his gaze fell to the floor. Leo could feel the atmosphere around his little brother change, from joyful to sadness. Mikey suddenly smiled again, this time with more force, and he looked over to Pinkie Pie. To Leo's surprise, Mikey's smile turned into a half-fake, half-real smile as the orange-masked turtle walked over to the pony doll. I just needed to use the bathroom, and Pinkie wanted something to drink, Mikey explained. You may not believe it, but she did say she wanted something to drink. Once he said that, he scooped up the doll into his arms and held her like she was a small child again. Leo didn't know what to say at this point, and as no words came out of his mouth. With no more words, Mikey carried Pinkie in his arms and walked out of the kitchen. Leo, in silence, quietly got his glass of water and quietly went back to his room. Though in his mind, he couldn't get the conversation of Mikey out of his head. Surely at this point, Mikey would only speak to her, and by her, he meant the doll, Pinkie Pie. As he drank his water in silence, he started to remember the eyes of Pinkie, those cerulean blue eyes on the doll. He almost thought they were staring straight at him, but he didn't know what to think of it. At this point, he didn't have a conclusion why Mikey's behavior would shift when he's around his brothers or when he's alone with her. Before long, Leo had already fallen fast asleep in his bed. But in his dream, he was almost surprised to see the room in nothing but complete blackness. Not a sign of light anywhere. His gaze switched. Suddenly, as he turned around, a small whimper behind him made him jump. His ocean blue eyes finally landed on the source of the sounds, but they quickly silenced as he saw it. He was almost startled by the sight of the source. The doll, Pinkie Pie, was sitting in front of him. She was staring straight at him with her big cerulean blue eyes. The smile on its face was small and thin, but the blue-masked turtle could still see it clear as day. As he looked at her with confusion, he almost jumped when he heard the sound of a high-pitched girl with voice whisper to him before his vision went black.
Mikey trusts me, but I don't trust you.
The next morning, the turtles were waiting for Master Splinter to give instructions for today's training, but the Ninjutsu teacher didn't say a word because he noticed 2 turtles were missing. His gaze shifted over to his remaining sons and daughter as the 4 of them were preparing to spar.
Oliver, where are Leonardo and Michelangelo?
Splinter asked. Ollie was just about to speak when a voice suddenly replied. I'm right here, Sensei. Everyone turned to find Mikey standing by the doorway, and in his arms was Pinkie Pie. His expression was one of nervousness, confusion, and fear when he saw the curious looks his family was giving him. He hugged Pinkie, and he looked at her with a hopeful expression.
It's okay, Mikey. Go ahead. I'm right here.
The same high-pitched voice said gently in the turtle's mind. He gulped and nodded as his feet started to move as if on their own. He anxiously walked into the others while doing his best to keep it together. Splinter watched as his youngest son walked to them, and he could sense the nervousness from him. He saw Mikey's gaze fall down to his feet when he noticed Rack rolling his green eyes, causing his expression to grow stern and suspicious. When Mikey dragged his gaze back up, he presented Pinkie Pie to him. The pink pony looked to be sparkling and slightly wet, but mostly dry. Sensei, this is Pinkie Pie, my new doll. Mikey sounded very nervous. The rat's bronze eyes looked at the doll curiously. The pink pony did look interesting and cute, but something seems to be strange about it. He decided to ignore that part when he realized Mikey was hugging Pinkie close to him, almost in a way that was a stranger danger warning, as his expression was slowly turning calm and relaxed. Seeing how the doll was calming him down made Splinter understand how this doll was helping him.
You may keep him, Michelangelo. I can see how this doll keeps you calm and relaxed,
he said calmly. Mikey sighed in relief and nodded. Thank you, Sensei.
Now then, Michelangelo, have you seen Leonardo?
Splinter's question sent Mikey into a state of confusion. Leo was usually the first one in the dojo, and today he isn't. Why is that?
Sorry I'm late, Sensei.
Everyone turned to the entrance and was almost taken aback by Leo's appearance. His eyes were slightly red and he was yawning a bit. His skin looked slightly pale, but not a lot, and his blue mask was loosely tied unlike the usual. When his blue eyes landed on Pinkie, his expression turned to one of suspicion.
Mikey, why is your doll in the dojo?
He asked suspiciously. Mikey hugged his pony doll close to him and looked at the leader of Blue with a curious expression. I wanted to show Pinkie to Sensei, and he accepted her, Mikey replied.
Leo, are you okay?
Leo yawned again and looked at him.
I...
He didn't know what to say to finish that sentence. Splinter seemed to have caught on Leo's nervous tone, and he seemed to catch on to the reason why. He stroked his beard, and his mind was made up.
There will be no training today, but Leonardo, I would like to have a word with you alone,
he confirmed. Leo nodded, and the rest of his brothers and sister left, but Mikey strangely stayed behind, looking at him with a worried expression. The blue-masked turtle looked at his little brother with curiosity before his gaze fell onto her. The blue-masked turtle felt his suspicion rising before it began to fall apart again as soon as he realized Mikey had walked out of the dojo. By the time he was in front of his father, he could see the concern in Splinter's eyes.
Leonardo, is there something bothering you?
He asked. Leo felt his voice come to a stop for a second. His heart started to beat fast, but he was doing his best to not lose it. Taking a deep breath, he looked at Splinter and answered, I had a dream last night, Sensei, and Pinky was involved. His response made Splinter curious. It said something about Mikey trusts her, but she doesn't trust me. Splinter stroked his beard in thought before he looked at his oldest son.
Perhaps Michelangelo sees the doll as something to give him comfort when we can't.
His words of wisdom seemed to have calmed Leo's nerves down a bit, but not fully.
Do not fret, my son. The doll is helping him recover from what has caused him to change. Besides, it is just a pony plush, nothing more.
Leo nodded understandingly. Now his nerves were fully settling down. But outside of the dojo, two blue cerulean eyes were watching the two with a dark twinkle in its eyes, as almost a glare formed on its soft pink face.